Hello and welcome to the ID Boxing Live Show. Third time lucky here. Unfortunately, we had a few little technical issues, which we'll pick up afterwards, most definitely. A few. There has been a few. Let's forego all of the niceties and get straight into the boxing, guys. I don't care how you are. I just want to get on with things.
No, announce us.
Barry Jones is here, and so is Deck Taylor. So welcome back to ID Boxing Live. In all seriousness, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Pleasure for all hours.
Yeah, I'm sure it has been. It's been a little bit of
a 45 minutes ago.
It was 45 minutes ago. But you know, performance issues and all of that, Barry. I'm sure you know all about that.
I've never seen you exercise, but you strutted up and down this room like a lunatic, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, the less said about that, the better. But anyway, let's talk about some boxing because we are now unfortunately limited for time. I need a laptop of some description, please, over here so I can take our lovely audience who have been very, very patient. I need to take their questions because I'm a little bit frazzled and I don't think I can to manage to...
You're not showing it, though, mate.
No, I look fine. Picture of health, as always. Deck, how are you?
I'm great, mate. Absolutely couldn't be better.
What have you been doing with yourself? It's been a little while since we've caught up.
Yeah, I know. I've been just trying to oust you from every job that you have. So this is the start of that.
Barry, how are you? We're over in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch up with you. But how was your trip?
I walked past you, didn't I?
You did, yeah. I asked you for an interview and you said no.
I didn't say no.
You said, yeah, maybe tomorrow. I said, what time's your flight? You said 10 a.m.
I literally wanted to get out there, and there was a bus waiting for us, like a coach or whatever it was, to pick us up, and I wanted to get straight back to the hotel because I had to get up at 6, 7. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning, something 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So and also, I know you're like, you ask for an interview, then it's like an hour later, then you start.
Especially if it's live.
So it's like,
someone's going to pay for this. But anyway, it's not going to be me. Let's talk about Usyk-Joshua 2. It's the first time we've all sat down together since that night in Saudi Arabia. Oleksandr Usyk successfully defends his unified heavyweight titles. Pretty clear-cut win, Deck, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say it was clear-cut. I was very impressed with Joshua, though, got to say. I thought he boxed very well. But like you say, you can't really look at defeats, really. You can't rate someone on a defeat, but Usyk was amazing. And he is a generational talent, isn't he? And he proved it. And now let's hope we get the fight we all want to see, which is Fury. Of
course. Barry, your thoughts? We sat down here, we dissected it beforehand.
Well, he did better than I thought, because I thought you were going to get stopped.
Same.
So he did better. I think he didn't gas as much as I thought he would. And I think that Usyk it makes you work hard. But Joshua didn't try and work so hard, I felt. They still tried to be aggressive. More proactive rather than aggressive, I would say. But he just couldn't close the distance to throw that right hand. That was his biggest problem. He wasn't double jabbing. And I understand he wasn't double jabbing because he was missing. But you've got a double jab. Hitting is not irrelevant, but almost it doesn't matter. It gets your feet closer. When you double jab fast, it brings that front foot goes boom, boom. It's like stabs with the front foot. That gets you close to the target quick enough to throw the right hand. And that's what he needed, more of that, to put Usyk under real pressure. And he just couldn't do it. So even the rounds, but after 9 rounds, it was a closest sort of fight, you would feel. But again, like with Usyk, it doesn't, like we said in the preview show about it, it's, he makes you work hard and you want to work. You're always boxing at his pace, whether it's fast or slow. So you're having to go when he goes, or slow down when it's faster, whatever speed he goes at, you got to try and match that. And because it's erratic, and because he got with his foot, he's always feinting with the foot, and he's always moving around the target. You always like a little buzzing bee. You're never comfortable, even when there's nothing happening, and that tires you out, and that makes you panic a little bit. But Joshua didn't gas out like I thought he would, so he did quite well. The 9th round was absolutely fantastic from Joshua. Though when you really think about it, and I wants to fight back. But I thought, what a great round. And I thought about it, it was a great effort. But I'm not sure if he did much.
He didn't land an awful lot clean. I watched it back. So I haven't watched an awful lot of live boxing in the last 2 or 3 years because of the pandemic and a few other bits. So it was kind of 8 rows back or so. And it looked like he was having, as you said there, a very good round. I think it was still his best round of the fight. But when watching it back, there wasn't an awful lot that landed clean. He was it was sort of a lot of hustle and bustle and was able to sort of bully, kind of hustle Usyk back against the ropes, but I didn't think anything particularly landed clean. Deck?
Nah, nothing. A lot of it was on the elbows or hands, but it was putting Usyk under pressure. I think he felt the pressure, but he obviously couldn't maintain it, and that was the
that
point,
needed to be rounds 3, 4, 5,
you know
6. These need a few rounds of that continuously, making Usyk fight at your pace or have to fight rather than when he wants to go.
We all said that as well in the build-up. Everything, like all these preview shows, everyone's speaking till they were blue in the face. Joshua was saying it as well. Need to put the pressure on, need to be more aggressive. Didn't really happen, did it? Really? And the problem is because Usyk's too good. Not because he didn't want to, not because the tactics were wrong or anything else, but Usyk's too good.
There's no problem there.
Nah,
Usyk showed how good a fight he is because he has one round where he's not comfortable, he's not in control. And then the next round, he has his best round. Yeah. Not doesn't just game control. He has his best round, and that's the sign of a great fighter. It really is. And he got beat by a better guy. And when he's pound for pound in the ball, which he very well might be, is irrelevant. He's just better than you. That's all that matters, and that's fine with that. You can live with that. As much as he's upset about it all, and he showed a bit of that after the fight, of course. but he had to go this time. He didn't sort of just bite on his gum shield and swing from the rafters. No, like a White would, or certainly like a Zurdo would, or try to, because that's not he's never fought that way ever. I've been doing a re-commentary on a lot of his fights for DAZN, great company by the way, as a Sky and whoever else will want to employ me. I do that every show now, but he was never this gung-ho fighter that we sort of think he was. He was more assertive. When he did hit you, he knew how to finish you, but he always boxed his way in. And he tried to do that in the first fight more than he did the second fight, and it didn't work. In this fight, he tried to be a little bit, didn't only attacked when he thought he was right to go and committed more to it. But it was having no effect, I don't think it was remotely close again. But he did better. But the result was exactly the same.
Yeah, I felt it was closer watching it live. Again, sort of not watching an awful lot of live boxing in a while. And then when I went and watched it back, I felt like Usyk won very, very clear. Okay. Very, very clear.
17-11, I thought I had it.
Yeah, I think I had it 117-111 on a rewatch. But I feel like that was even a little bit kind. I felt like 10-2, 9-3 Usyk was kind of about right. Live, I scored it 8 rounds to 4. But I mean, a lot of talk in the build up to it, and certainly we've kind of just spent most of the time here, apart from a little bit with you, Barry, talking about what Anthony Joshua didn't do, what Anthony Joshua should have done. But Oleksandr Usyk, I mean, an absolute wizard at cruiserweight, of course, but now at heavyweight, he's proven that he can hang with the big boys.
Yeah, I think he grew as well a lot from the first fight. In the 12 rounds he had with Joshua in that fight, he would have gained so much confidence from that. Obviously, as well, the backdrop of what's happening in Ukraine and all that underpinning the reason why he came out and the reason why he did it all. I think it was quite funny because almost I started, and like you say, I was predicting a stoppage as well towards the end. I thought he was going to try and really, but like a bit like with Joshua, that's not really how Usyk fights. He put a bit more pressure on, it was a bit more sustained, but really he did what he did. But everything was cleaner and tidier, and when it really mattered towards the end, he just took over. He did it kind of against Bellew, he gave away a few early rounds and people go, Bellew might do something. And if you speak to Bellew, he's like, well, no, I knew early that I was losing that fight because he was draining, just draining you.
It's that mental concentration completely as well.
With the feet and just that he's constantly just pouring out that jab. Not often landing, but you're always resetting, always thinking he might whip a hard one in behind it every now and again. But
he doesn't load up, does he? That's how good he is. He says so he can just continuously go at the same pace because he never loads up, which means it reduces a bit of power. But they all take effect, and the longer the fight, the more fatigued you are. Those shots that didn't hurt in round 3 become hurtful punches in round 10 and 11. But he'll feel it. So he felt Joshua not the same. No, he doesn't take the risk because he's a bigger guy. He still knows now, as good as he is, if he gets tagged by Joshua in any second of any round, he's in trouble. You can see the way some of those body shots looked like they hurt. He was sort of tucking up with them, to take away the sting. And bending down so nothing was coming back. He's just all he's thinking is survive this, stay safe, and then I'll get a bit of gap, and then I'll go back to my boxing. That's all that was with him, all the time. So Joshua did really well at stages and boxed better, a lot better, and there was improvement from the first fight with Joshua, but it was still the same result.
I've got a question here from Max Birch. Sorry there, Deck. Get all your questions in, please. Don't forget to hit the like button and put your questions into the chat. Even though we're a late start, please drop us a like, follow and subscribe. But anyway, Max Birch, question for the guys. With Usyk never losing a championship round in his entire career, is he one of the best heavyweight finishers of all time? I think finishing the fight. And of course, he did lose a round on the championship rounds to Glenn Feldman. Shout out Glenn Feldman. Yeah. Usyk finishing the fight. How
Good question, Max.
pivotal is that to be able to close out as strong as he does consistently?
I think that's always what he wants to do, isn't it? And that's why he's happy with the early rounds maybe going that way, because he figures you out and quote unquote downloads the data. Maybe he does that, maybe he doesn't. But he always strong, isn't he? Towards the end.
Barry loves that. Yeah,
loves that. It's like anti-Barry Jones finger. But he does, and what it does, it allows him to come on strong towards the end, like 100%. And I feel like, did he say in heavyweight history?
In heavyweight. So yeah.
Right now, yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, the thing is, someone like Tyson Fury is another guy who knows how to manage a fight properly, so he would do the same. And yeah, I think he does it on purpose. He's happy to just mind his way in. He would definitely just be feeling Joshua draining by the round, his power sapping every now and again, and then towards the end he just turns it on. That's one of his great strengths, definitely.
His great is to make you uncomfortable constantly. So whether you're like, we go back to the Beterbiev fight and others at the cruiserweight, because he was a bigger specimen back then, he would just make you work so hard just to stay in the fight, just to lose a round or just win a round, but you have to just do everything in that round from bell to bell, where he did absolutely almost nothing. And he hasn't got the same physical, he's not as imposing as a heavyweight, so he can't do it exactly the same way, but it's still a similar method. And the football, you see the way he's darting out with the feet, and he changes the levels of his head, his body. He's up and down like this, not throwing punches. So if you're trying to hit him, he's going this way, and he's going up and down. So he's jabbing low, and then you come up again and jab high, and then he'll screw shot through, and then that front foot goes in and out of your stance. Which you're meant to get your foot on the outside, but he'll go in and out with that stance, and he'll dart in, he'll screw up again.
Yeah, inside the jab.
He's everywhere.
And also it means it's taking the heat off anything that actually lands as well, because he's always his target's always moving. But
also because you're a bigger guy, you're starting to get a bit more tense, because he's around you, moving around like a buzzing bee around you, and you're thinking, I got to make sure I get this right. If I miss, and when you're 18 stone, like Joshua said in his speech after. When you're 18 stone, he did, but it's a valid point. When you're 18 stone, you can't be throwing loads of punches. You've got to make sure the punches that you throw count. So when you miss, that's a lot of weight to pull back. So you know you got to hit. But when you got a guy doing this, and this, and this, it's difficult to set yourself. You're waiting, and all that, doing that panic, it tires you out. And that's how he does it. But it's not as effective. It's not as clear as in heavyweights, because they are just physically bigger, so he can't impose himself. But he just waits for your tank to empty, and then he'll start putting the punches together in combinations a little bit more. So he looks like he's up in the pace. He's not. You just haven't started at any pace. He's made you've lowered your pace, and he's just smoothing. He's just like this. Smooth along. He doesn't.
But Fury's good at that as well.
Very much so. Before we get into some questions here in the chat, keep those questions coming in. We will try to get to everybody as soon as we can. You mentioned there, it's kind of the elephant in the room. I spoke to so many people, I don't know about you guys, and I said, did you watch the fight? And they said, no, but I saw the post-fight rant, interview, whatever you want to call it. Dec, I'm going to come to you first. Thoughts?
So I think it was. I thought he was obviously fuming. He's fuming. He's put everything into it, and I feel like he genuinely believed that he was going to win the fight. He got the Garcia, and he probably, dare say, paid a lot of money to do that. And he changed things, and he addressed the problems he thought he did from the first fight, and he put everything into it, and it still didn't work. And I think that was what he was trying to convey. He was trying to say, like when he spoke to Lomachenko, and Lomachenko's like, you box well, and he's like, no, I don't care, like I still lost. And then he says to Usyk, like, you're small, how are you beating me? I think what he's meaning by that is like, what can I do to beat you? It's just frustration. To be honest, I quite liked it. Some of the stuff he said was a little bit weird. He's just been punching ahead for 12 rounds. Like, what do you expect? I kind of like that, and I feel like us who've covered Joshua over the years, you don't see behind the curtain very much. Yeah. Even when we sit down with him off the camera for the newspapers, which is usually supposed to be a bit more relaxed and a bit more open, he's still got that up, because that's what he does and that's how he is. So just to see him like just opening up like that and letting it go for a moment, I thought was kind of strange to see. You don't see it often. It's just raw emotion. For me, what it told me is that he could do with a breather. I feel like he just needs to have a rest for a bit. Is
that a rest as in, because I mean he's only boxed I think 3 times in the last 2.5, 3 years or whatever. Do you think that a rest is what he needs? Does he need to relocate or?
Yeah, I mean I hate to be that person who's always I go to America, and Garcia said go to America. I don't think that's what he needs. But like, he's a very rich man. He's very wealthy. He's very successful. He still lives half his life in a hotel in Loughborough. Like, why don't you go and enjoy your life for a bit? Like, you only get one of them, and he's got a young child. I just feel like yes, he's only fought that much, but he does all sorts of stuff. He's always doing stuff. And I wonder, I don't know him. I don't know. We get shown as much as we're allowed, which is very little, to be fair, as the media.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was just like mad frustration. I think he's got another career in him, if you know what I mean. I feel like this could be the break, and he has another career from here on in, but I don't think it can just roll into it. I feel like he's got another block, but he needs a bit like Pacquiao post Marquez, that sort of thing, where he's got another chunk in him. It's not just like, let's squeeze a couple more fights out of him. I feel like he can properly go again, but I think he just needs to like draw a line under this for a bit. I don't know exactly how he does it, but a break would be an idea.
Maybe without that kind of pressure of being AJ. Now he's kind of let the mask slip a little bit, and then it kind of takes a little bit of that away from him. Before my comments, Barry, how did you find the post-fight
I found it funny.
I guess?
On the night, 'cause I was there, I mean, literally, when he threw the belts down, I'm ringside, he threw them right by me.
He put them on.
I thought I'd grab that. But I thought, actually, they're not his belts, are they?
No, they're not his belts.
They weren't his.
Cheeky bastard. Yeah.
I don't think Oleksandr Usyk was best pleased when he did that.
Hell was that?
No, but they're right by us. But I found it funny, first of all. So he's just gone, his head's gone, like, understandably, of course. But, we like to see people behave in a respectful manner. It was Usyk's moment. But I don't really look too much into it. I don't think he didn't say anything bad. He just said a lot. He said he was talking a lot when it wasn't his time to talk. It was the other guy's guy. He was the winner. The other guy was the one who won. But the problem is when you're a superstar and everyone's telling. I used to have a mate in the amateurs, and he was a really good schoolboy. There's only schoolboy boxer, and he was like, and he loved himself a little bit. Well, I love him. He's a great guy, and he just went, everyone can't be wrong. If everyone's telling me I'm the best, I must be the best. And Josh was probably a bit like that. Everyone around him telling him how great he is. And he's a fantastic fighter, by the way. And what he's done, and forget about how long he's been boxing, it's irrelevant. What he's done in his career, amateur and pro, is amazing. Olympic gold medalist. Do you know what I mean? Like, I chop off my foot for that. And a world silver medal, I'll chop off the other foot for that as well. It's just that. Forget about the pros. That alone is just like, wow.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be able to be a pro with no feet.
No, well, after the fact, though, idiot.
Oh, right, like now.
You know what I mean? Like, because I'd have the money, the endorsements to buy new feet. Bigger feet, plastic ones. Anyway, or just wear sliders like.
Just move on.
But so he's had an amazing career. But everyone's telling you the same thing all the time. Oh, great you are, you're good. It's all about you. You're the star, which he is. Then he probably thinks people do want to hear from him. Maybe he thinks, listen, I need to tell people. And he probably thinks it's his duty to explain to people, tell people what went on, why I got beat. And I think he was trying to give Usyk loads of compliments.
Yeah.
It's not about being big and strong. It's like, I need to be like you. But at the time, it was funny.
If you go and look at all his post-fight,
like a nervous breakdown, which is not funny. That's awful. I'm saying that. But
I know.
It's unraveling. But if you look at all his post-fight interviews, even when he wins, they're a little bit strange. Like the Saudi one, Klitschko one.
The Klitschko one was great.
Yeah. Even the Usyk first defeat, like they're always a bit. That's obviously what's happening in his brain from all that.
No, but the Klitschko speech was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I just thought, like, wow, every kid, amateur boxer now is going to be in the gym Sunday morning, just like train like a lunatic after that speech. It was just the perfect thing to say at the perfect time. About it's not how good you are, it's the effort you put in and all this stuff. It was just, it might have been written down or whatever, but it was just a great rant, and I thought that was great. I thought, people can't love him now after that, and it was a great fight, the Klitschko fight.
Yeah.
This one, not so great.
I think for me, I kind of agree with you. I think it was just the wrong time. It was Oleksandr Usyk's moment. Everything that's gone on in his home country over the last 6 months, even regardless of that, take that away and it's still his moment. And I feel like it was just. Yeah, Anthony Joshua lost it, as we all do. I mean, a couple of days before that, I mean, you saw me today because
proper lost it.
Yeah, proper lost it, mate.
Throwing
because
Jordan's belts out the window.
Yeah, well, I am 18 stone.
I'm
not 14 stone. It's not nice. But anyway, I feel like it's 10 years of constant pressure, constantly having to. I don't want to say that I don't know him, so it might be what he's like away from the cameras, but. You get these blue chip sponsorships, the Hugo Boss and everything else that he does, links and all of that, Lucozade. Like, you have to present a certain kind of exterior for that. Whether that's who you are behind closed doors or not, I don't know. But considering the nature of everything over the last 10 years, I think in that moment it all just came to the surface. And you know when you lose the plot and you start talking and you don't make sense and you start doubling back.
Like his rant about losing his feet.
Pretty much, yeah. You just have to. You need somebody to kind of rein you in. But I think like we saw all of that anyway. We saw. He stormed out the ring, then he went back, I've got to do this and I'll make up for it and I'll say this. And then I think what we saw in the post-fight press conference was kind of how he really felt. The adrenaline had left him. He looked knackered when he got into that post-fight press conference. The tears came. And then the next day he apologised. And I feel like that's probably enough. At the time, I don't think it was a good look for anybody. Pretty sure he would, regret things the way that it went, and he apologised for it the next day. But I mean, you talk about some of the heavyweights in the 90s and stuff like that, and the way that they've reacted to losses, to victories. Some like Andrew Gallotta and Mike Tyson and Rick Bowe and people like that. Larry Holmes.
Remember Tyson broke his back?
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes I think you have to kind of look at it for what it is when these two guys are getting in there and they're having a fight. Yes, they've got loads of money. Yes, they're superstars and all of that. But when you strip it down to its bare bones, they're two guys having a fight for 36 minutes. And I agree with you, Dec. I think he truly believed he was going to win. He truly believed that he'd go in there, right the wrongs, and would win. And then it all just came too much for him. But anyway, enough of that. I appreciate some of the questions coming in here. Keep them going. We will try and get to them. Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. I'm going to go to you first, Dec. How does that fight go?
I still pick Fury, just based on his size. I feel like his size is good enough or great enough to negate Usyk's qualities, which you have already outlined. I feel like he's massive. Got huge reach, but also not only that, but he's obviously also a very, very good boxer. Like his boxing brain is on par. And to be honest, I feel like deep down Fury doesn't really want anything to do with Usyk because he knows boxing. He knows how good Usyk is, no matter what he says about it. And this whole thing about he wants 500 million for the fight. What I'm thinking is, but it's a contradiction because he says he'll fight Joshua for free. He doesn't need any motivation to box Joshua. He needs motivation to box Usyk because he's like, well, I've won everything. I've won all the belts that he's got already. Why do I want to go and have it with this guy who's like really awkward and he's southpaw and he's small? I already know I don't really like this. You got to motivate me by paying me 500 million. So I think that's the point there. But I would still pick him in that fight. One thing as well I disagree with is I've heard some people say he can't really be considered the man of this generation until he beats Usyk. I'm not fully on board with that. I don't feel it would be amazing for his legacy if he was to go and beat Usyk, the other guy, but there's always someone to beat in there. If he retires now, fine, that's fine by me. But I feel like he beats Usyk anyway.
Yeah, I do. Well, the thing with Joshua as well, forget about Joshua, now he's gone. Fury, he's busy.
Yeah.
He can throw lots of punches. He's another one who doesn't have to, who's seen, the first stage of his career maybe, or the second stage of his career. He never used to load up. He used to win loads of shots. There was no power on him, but loads of shots. And that's all he needs against Usyk, I think. He got the movement. He can get on it. He can box in so many different ways. And also the movement of Usyk, like I said earlier, going up and down level, side to side, feinting with the feet. That won't panic Josh. That won't panic Fury.
Because it will all be happening out of range.
But even if it does, he won't panic because he's boxed from a kid and just the way he can think. And he can see Joshua is great. Apparently, he's a student and he absorbs it like a sponge and blah blah blah. And I think he does. And I think if you tell him something in the corner, he'll genuinely try and do that. And that's great when you've got a fighter like that. Fury can think for himself. And you've learned that from a young age. Most kids who box from a young age, you have to learn for yourself because not most, that's an awful thing to say. Some amateur trainers are not great. I didn't have a great one. So, you have to think for yourself. But when you have natural talent as well, and you can think for yourself as well, you're a real danger. And Fury can change a round, can change style and change the pattern of a round. Forget about a fight. And that's why he wouldn't, whatever Usyk would do, wouldn't panic. Fury, even when he gets hurt, he doesn't panic. That third fight against Wilder, he knew he could get hurt. He knew he actually didn't know he could get hurt. He knew he was gonna get hurt. He knew he pretty much might get dropped, but he didn't panic because he knew he can get up now. So he learned that, and he thought, I don't care. I know I can get up. He takes a bit of a risk as well, a bit stupid, but he bets on himself. He goes in more confidence than probably any fighter you could think of right now, and I think that's why he beats Usyk. And I think it's a cagey fight.
Yeah.
but not a difficult fight for him, if that makes any sense.
To play devil's advocate, sorry to interrupt.
Well, don't then.
Play devil's advocate. Do we think Fury can still get on his bike? Can he still be that fighter that he was? I mean, it's been a while since we've seen it.
I think he can.
That's why.
Yeah, I think he can. To be honest, I think it's easier for him actually. Still, it's revert to type. It's still what he is. I think he on his toes and boxing, and I actually think it wouldn't be out of the question that he does try and walk him down like he did with Wilder. Because if he did with Wilder, I think he'd happily do it to Usyk with. But again, this is not just reckless. He's not just going in there swinging, because see what he did with Wilder in the second fight. It's still calculated pressure. He still gets on the front foot. He can counter off the front foot like not many people can. And what he is good at, he's a good leaner. He's good. He's better than Joshua at that, using his size.
Everyone was kind of calling for from Joshua, which we've never seen.
Which he never does. And so David Price never did it. It's just sometimes big guys don't. Because why would you? You've got this massive levers. But Fury's good at that. Yeah. But I think he'd be sapping him. I feel like I want to see it, because I'll be very intrigued to see which style he does. But to answer your question, I think he's still got that. I think really that's what he wants to do.
He can switch southpaw, without even realising. You don't realise it, but he switches southpaw and you go, what's different? Oh yeah, he's gone southpaw. Because he's done it like in a second, and he's done it, and then carries on throwing loads of punches. I just think the fact that he won't be afraid to miss. He has that inbuilt engine where he can work, he can throw lots of punches per round. He's a bit of a. He's not the greatest heavyweight of all time. Let's not get carried away with that. But I mean, he's quite unique as a heavyweight for such a giant guy. He has such a great engine.
While we're on that subject, because I mean, you talk about like Joe Louis, 25 consecutive heavyweight title defences. Evander Holyfield, 4-time heavyweight champion. Muhammad Ali, you throw those guys in. Okay, so they've achieved a lot more. Who would you back to beat Fury in a mythical one-night fight? Because that's quite different. That's not saying he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, but...
Yeah. Well, it's hard to match him up, because I think saying he's the greatest heavyweight of all time is not always about who would beat who, because it's...
Yeah, achievements.
Yeah, greatness is not about ability.
No, it's hard to think. He's big.
You can put him in any era with anyone, and he'll be competitive 100%.
So who's your one? Who's your Huckleberry?
I'd probably do Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier?
Just because he's small. I don't think Fury likes that too much. Small, compact style left hooks around the side. I feel like that is the style. Like when you have an elite guy like that, someone doing that with that sort of pressure would have the best chance. Someone big and stand up would, he could get on his toes as well, and he could just negate it as much as anything. But I think you just need someone to rough him up.
Imagine him in a prime.
5'11", Joe Frazier. He's your man. Oleksandr Usyk, 6'2", I think, 6'3".
Doesn't punch like that. Although, to be fair,
closes the distance.
Fury would probably just walk him down.
Yeah.
Well, he's just this.
So Dex going for Joe Frazier. Yours, Lennox?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Lennox is.
I kind of think that's solid jab that Lennox had.
Yeah, big.
And that good right. And also, I know Lennox got knocked out heavy twice, but he took a good shot. Those 90s heavyweights were brilliant.
I'd pick Muhammad Ali to beat Tyson Fury as well, by the way.
Okay. Right. So just going to try and get give over the fantasy boxing matches. Rob, it's pointless. Cheers, Big A.
Big A.
Big A. Like,
thanks,
comment, and subscribe. Anyway, we had a question up here. I've sort of lost it a little bit now. But anyway, top 5 heavyweights in order. Somebody has just asked.
Oh,
right now.
Barry. Yeah.
Fury, Usyk, Wilder, Joshua.
Wilder ahead of Joshua?
Yeah, definitely. And
Joyce or Parker? I would say. I would agree with that. And then I'd probably put Joe.
Jared Anderson.
It's too
not yet.
Same with Hrgovic. Like he was in the, but he's.
Oh yeah, no.
So yeah, I'd agree with that. And then I think
yeah.
over Ortiz or Ruiz, really, you'd have to go with, for me, Joyce. Again, if you like just matching them up, I'd probably pick Joyce to beat them all, apart from the 4 that you named.
This is going to end up pretty much as a heavyweight thing. Apologies to Dmitry, Bivol and Zurdo Ramirez. Where do we want to see Anthony Joshua next? Who next for him? We all know that we want Usyk to box Tyson Fury, so let's kind of consider that as them two fighting each other. Anthony Joshua, who does he fight next?
It's hard, isn't it? Because you cannot put him in. Like, you really should be building him up again and give him some walkovers like Chisora and people like that. Really, but he's not.
Well, Eddie Hearn said that he's going to have 4 fights next year, which tells you a lot about that what they would go for
I hope
first.
so. That'd be fantastic.
But he's talking about him wanting to box in December, like regardless of what's happening, he wants to fight in December.
I mean, the guy's had, I don't know, has he just had consecutive world title fights?
Yeah, that was
like 12 in a, I think it's 12 in a row.
Since post Dillian White, he's had a belt on the line in all of his fights.
That's just crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. Like, it's what a run that is. What a run. Yeah, you've lost a couple of those, 3 of those, by the way. You know, but that's just like, he didn't take a warmer fight when he lost against Ruiz, and that takes a lot of credit. That's a lot of credit. But maybe he needs a fight like a Chisora.
Yeah, I think someone like,
I don't want to see that, but
and their mates, and he manages him. But you could see it. I like Otto Wallin as an opponent, but why would he want another southpaw now?
Yeah,
an orthodox guy, wouldn't he?
Otto Wallin, I think, was when the whole Fury Usyk thing was happening, and they were discussing a potential undisputed fight. I believe sources said that was the fight that was going to be Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin, which I think, I mean, look, hindsight's 20/20, particularly in boxing, but if you go back there, if you want a southpaw who's kind of, look, he's relatively up and down, he's quite an orthodox southpaw, so to speak, somebody to prepare and particularly with a new coach, with Robert Garcia and everybody coming into the camp, that I feel like would have been a good fight before the Usyk rematch, but now the Usyk rematch is done.
Yeah.
I think he probably goes away from there.
I wouldn't have a southpaw now. I saw the list, and I like Bakoli in Nigeria, or I like Gillet in China. Go and do something different. Yeah, southpaw. Go and do something different, make a load of money. And it's almost not a novelty fight, because it's not, Martin Bakoli's not a novelty fight, but it's like going to the O2 and just having it's almost like just a continuation.
That's a hard fight, I think, for Joshua.
Oh, it's massively hard. Of course it is. Yeah, it's not a
hard fight, I think.
Great fight, but yeah, I think Gillet in the bird's nest, that sort of thing.
FA Ajagba in Nigeria.
Oh, yeah.
Got a stoppage win.
Yeah.
This past weekend.
Win. Joshua wins that fight, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's a stoppage win. So yeah.
He's not going to look at the world title for a while, is he? Let's be honest. So yeah, but I think there's loads of fighters for him now, and everyone's going to want to fight him because he's still a big payday. He's still a huge name. It's weird with Joshua because he should continue, because his career, he hasn't had a hard career. I mean, physically, and he's still one of the best heavyweights in the world. But he's not the best. He's not the second best, and that's clear. Those two stand above everyone else. There's a big gap, and I think Wilder above him.
Yeah, and I think I still maintain that Wilder Joshua is the most exciting fight in boxing.
Oh yeah, it's a great fight.
Most exciting fight in boxing.
I did find it very.
Go near it.
I did find it very interesting how we kind of had, now the belts don't matter. It was road to undisputed, and now the belts don't matter, with or without. I mean, this is
for him, because we still want to see Joshua, and we still want to see.
No. But I mean, yeah, in that specific instance where Joshua Wilder happens with no belts, now the narrative is, belts don't matter. It's all good. It's still bigger than the undisputed fight, which is quite a lot different to what we've heard.
Make up everything, don't they? Just sell anything. It's a real sellable fight, isn't it? It's a great fight. But are they going to want to fight?
It's too risky that for them now. It's the last
and for the other fellas, I don't mind, to be honest. Because Wilder got aspirations about, probably wants to box Fury again, probably like a lunatic.
And he's boxing on October the 15th. So let's talk about Deontay Wilder. He makes his return. I think good to see him back in the division. I have to kind of, I assume that the plan is to win another world title. But yeah, I think there was a period of time where I wasn't quite sure whether he was going to come back. And I don't think this is a gimme against Robert Helenius.
No, it's a good fight. That's a real good fight. I think he wins. I think he stops him, knocks him out.
Yeah, it is.
But
gimme now.
I agree with you, and this is what I was saying about Joshua needing a break. I feel like Wilder's just switched off, and he's just gone away for a bit.
He went and did like LSD or
licked the toad and that. But he got new hair. But now he's back, and he's like, right, okay, I'm going to do it again. He's got a statue, and this is what I mean. It's like a new career.
He got a statue.
Yeah, he's got a statue in Alabama. He's got
licked a toad, got a statue, new hair, Barnett.
That's the Holy Trinity, isn't it? That's what Joshua needs to do. Lick a toad, sort his hair out, and
loads of toads in my back.
Yeah. So that's what I think he beats Helenius, and he's back. He's still Wilder. And there's not really anyone in world boxing that gets your juices flowing like Wilder, and that goes for hardcore fans, but mainly like the sort of casual fans and sort of people who just like a look at boxing. They know what you're going to get with Wilder.
I'd like to see a heavyweight who can knock somebody out.
Yeah,
that's still the biggest attraction in the sport.
Whatever happens in a Wilder fight, when he lands with that right hand and you see the fella fall apart, then you just go, he's back.
He's back.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I think. See, after the second Fury fight, I thought, he's done Wilder now. No, he's been beat twice, really, I thought. But the first one, okay, it was a draw. But the second one, he didn't just get beat, he got beat up. You did what you should do against him. No, theoretically against a bully, put it on him and they'll crumble. But that's what happened. He fell apart. He almost looked like he shit himself. What's going on here now? Like this guy who I had like put him to sleep in the last round of the last fight, and now he's just bullying me. But then the third fight, I thought this guy's going to be. Who wants to see the third fight now?
Yeah,
we know what's going to happen. Fury just walk through him now. He won't have to box him anymore. He just walked through him, and Wilder showed so much courage. Wilder was brilliant in the last fight. He showed loads of battles. He still got beat. He got beat by a guy who's much better than him. That's what's happened in the end there. But he showed so much bottle I didn't think he had. And I always thought Joshua would beat Wilder for years. I thought because Wilder, he swings his shots, he throws them back here, and they call it loop a little bit. And because Joshua was always nice and neat and right down the line, I thought Joshua gets there first. Wilder got the bigger punch, but Joshua punches hard enough. It's still a big hitter. He gets there first, and he hits you when you throw, and he puts you to sleep. But then after seeing the third fight, even though he lost Wilder, I thought he won't fall apart like I thought he would. Wilder, when he's in trouble, when he's having all his own way, he doesn't feel sorry for himself. He did in the second fight, but yet that was his first one, where he hadn't been able to just beat you up. I know even in the first fight, he hurt Fury, had him out. Did his job, didn't he, really?
He dropped him in the middle rounds.
Fury cheated by getting up. That's what happened. He got up when he was knocked out. That's a cheat. Who gets up when they're knocked out? Tyson Fury did. But no, so he did his job in Wilder's mind. I didn't know what to do. I could knock him out. And the second one, he got beat up. The third one, he come back and he dug in when he thought he had him going, and then things weren't going his way again, and he didn't have any scars or ghosts. He just dug in there and tried to fight back. And that's why I think he beats Joshua now.
Interesting comment here from Paulie Walnuts. Shout out Paulie Walnuts.
Paulie Walnuts.
Can we talk about the fact that Wilder was gassed after 3 rounds in the last 2 fights? Well, I was about to talk about. I'm interested to see what weight Wilder comes in at against Helenius, because we've seen him get progressively bigger. I mean, in the third Fury fight, looked like an action man. Yeah. He was absolutely stacked. And I've always felt, and I felt this about even in Wilder in the second fight, that his best weight, even though he's significantly outweighed, is around that sort of 215, 220, like in between there. Yeah. And we saw him bulk up massively. And Helenius is another big guy. Yeah. He's another big fella. So I'm interested to see Wilder's weight and whether or not that impacts on his stamina, because he was blowing after sort of a round and a half, really, the last fight.
I don't think Helenius has got a style to put that pressure on him that will tire him out early. But I totally agree with Paulie. Like, he was tired, but Tyson Fury's going to tire you out, isn't he? That's what I mean. The same with the Usyk fight. I feel like I've seen some clips of Wilder, like we all have. He doesn't look massive. He's running a lot. He looks athletic, and I agree with you. He looks that, but yeah, he could. But I feel like in a Joshua fight, that's not a fight where he gets tired like a Fury. I don't think he gets made to work like that either. He might do against Usyk, like Wilder, but I think against Helenius, it's sort of a pace that he's happy with. He might have, if he's not the old Wilder, he could get found out. But I think he is, and I feel he knocks him out, so he won't get to the point where he's tired. But it's 100% true what you're saying.
We've got a super chat here from UK Rob Boxing. Big up UK Rob Boxing, always. I was talking about a fight that was on the undercard, not the mental heavyweight fight between Filip Hrgovic and Zhilei Zhang. But Callum Smith, another impressive stoppage win at £175. UK Rob Boxing wants to know Callum Smith's chances in a potential Artur Beterbiev fight. He also says, big up ID Boxing Podcast. Thank you very much.
Yeah. He was good money. That
Bauderlink, yeah.
He's decent. I watched him. He looked fragile. I thought, Smith's just going to bully him and beat him up. And it's going to, even though he's obviously a good boxer, Bauderlink, he just looked too fragile for Smith. He was anything but. He was trying to throw with Smith. You know, he took a good shot. He fired back. But Smith knows how to finish, doesn't he? That little catch and hold the left hook he does is fantastic.
Yeah, why are people still trying to land a right-hand hook on him from Southpaw Orthodox? Why are you doing it?
The beautiful shot. The first one was the catch and counter left hook.
Yeah,
and then
the stoppage.
Yeah, and the second knockdown we punching with him. But he looks a real handful.
Well, look at Castillo. Look what he did to Lenin Castillo, who I believe went the distance with Bivol.
Distance with Dmitry Bivol, yeah.
So, like, his power is ridiculous at light heavy.
I give Callum Smith a good chance against Bivol.
Actually. Okay. Interesting.
I thought Canelo was going to be Bivol. So I'm a Bivol hater all of a sudden. I think because I think it's a hard fight for him, but I think he's got a good chance there because he can jab with Bivol. and also he can hurt anybody.
And what about Beterbiev?
I think he can totally outbox Beterbiev, but at some point he's going to have to exchange with him. I think if Beterbiev hits you clean, even if he doesn't knock you out, he just scares the life out of you.
I think the way I don't think he can outbox Beterbiev. I think the only way that he beats Beterbiev is to go in there, try and have a shootout and try and chin him.
Callum
I think,
Johnson did.
yeah, if he tries to box a Beterbiev is a world class amateur. He's a world class pro. I see him getting kind of walked down and beaten up. I think he has to go in there and try and punch with him like Callum Johnson did.
I can't see. Yeah, but look what happens, isn't it?
I think if he tries to box him, the same thing happens against Canelo. The difference is he gets stopped. I think he gets stopped. If he stands off Artur Beterbiev like he stood off Canelo at 168, I think he gets stopped. If he goes and has it's a hard fight. Any light heavyweight going against Artur Beterbiev, you're up against it. He's the best light heavyweight in the world.
It's horrible weight, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's the best out of all of those horrible fighters and has been over the last 6-7 years.
Not only the best, but the most dangerous.
Yeah.
The hardest puncher.
So if he's going to beat him...
Either when he gets cut or he gets dropped, doesn't give a shit, does he?
He's experienced. He's been there, seen it and done it.
He doesn't care about nothing. His face doesn't change. Doesn't worry.
No. I've always thought he's got that George Foreman power, no backlift.
So it's
heavy.
I think Callum Smith's good enough to win a world title at light heavyweight, but I just don't see him beating Beterbiev.
No, that's not the route.
Yeah, well, apparently for him it is. I mean, he's now mandatory with the WBC, 36, I believe, and I think he's maybe 36, 37, but he lives very, very clean.
Yeah.
Making the weight, I think, is where he may come unstuck ultimately. He's made that weight, held that weight for a long time. Obviously, he was heavier as an amateur. He boxed as a heavyweight as an amateur. But you would think at some point the weight cut's probably going to get to him. But yeah, I think that's an interesting one. While we're talking about the light heavyweights, we have seen a fight announced today. Dmitry Bivol versus Zurdo Ramirez in Abu Dhabi. Dek, didn't fancy the trip to Abu Dhabi, but do you fancy the fight?
Yeah, I think it's a great fight at the weight. It's one of those on paper where it makes a lot of sense, but I got a feeling it's got the potential to not be that good a fight. I don't like that entertaining. In a polite way of saying it could be shit, but because just the two styles, they're both really good at negating other people.
Yeah.
So when you've got two negators in there, it can become a bit of a snooze fest. But who knows? Could catch fire. I pick Bivol. But it's not out of the question that Zurdo can do the business. Abu Dhabi, the new, I don't know.
The new Vegas?
Everything, the new Saudi. So, yeah, wherever they got the money, I think fair play. Like they're breaking new ground, aren't they?
Yeah, groundbreaking stuff, game changed. Barry, how do you see the fight going? Dmitry Bivol versus Zurdo Ramirez?
Yeah.
That's the first time he's ever thought about it. He just don't want to say Bivol's losing.
I think Bivol wins a decision. I'll jump in while Barry kind of prepares his
decision.
I do think he wins, actually. I kind of think he's cleverer than I thought. He was clever against Canelo. He couldn't be Canelo. He had the size and used it really well, but he was clever with him. He punched when he retreated. I do think he beats Ramirez, but I think it's a good fight. I do. I think Ramirez will really have a go, actually.
He's a big boy as well at light heavy. When he boxed Dominic Bosel in his last fight, and Dominic Bosel not the biggest light heavyweight in the world, but I think his weight on the night, Zurdo Ramirez, he was 204 pounds in the ring. So he put on 29 pounds the next day. Whether or not he does that against Bivol is obviously very light on his feet. You don't want to be too heavy and too flat against somebody like that. But still, he's a big boy and he can punch.
I think Ramirez knows he's going to have to force Bivol to work hard, because Bivol does like to box at his own pace. He does it very well, but I think he's going to have to make him work hard. And he has that size that Canelo, he's not as good as Canelo, but he has the size that Canelo didn't have. Canelo couldn't make him panic, and Ramirez might. I don't know if he can. I tend to think that Bivol will still stay calm under pressure.
Yeah, it suits him for it to be dull, I think.
Yeah.
We spoke about the heavyweights and we spoke around these two fights. We didn't mention their fight this Sunday, September the 4th, my birthday, big me up. Andy Ruiz versus Andy Ruiz versus Luis-Ortiz. Interesting fight. I think it's sort of like the Wilder playoff, isn't it? If Ruiz wins that and Deontay Wilder comes through Robert-Helenius, a great fight in its own right, but I think we were talking about sort of what Wilder's ambitions are. You'd think Wilder versus Ruiz in particular, if they can make that next year, that's a big fight in America. But first, this Sunday, of course, Ruiz versus Ortiz, Barry.
I think, to me, it depends on what shape Ruiz is in, to be honest. I think if he's in shape, if he's fit, if he is fit and he's in a decent weight, then I tend to think that he'd be too light on his feet and too fast of hands and feet for Ortiz. I think Ortiz is really good, technically good, can bang, of course. But he's old. He's 57 years of age, for God's sake. I don't know what his record is. Old, it says on paper.
I think it says that he's 43.
He's 59 then. 59. I thought he's older than I thought. No, he's old, isn't he?
Old, yeah.
And I think so.
The Charles Martin fight is a big concern.
Yeah, it really
is. Judgment of distance, because he works off timing, doesn't he, Ortiz? But that judgment of distance and time, as you get older, it does that takes effect. That wanes a little bit more than other stuff.
He pulled that rabbit out of the hat against Prince Charles Martin, but he was dropped twice, dropped with a jab. And he just looked like that was it, where the wheels had come off for him. And then he uncorked that big left hand that had like Charles Martin talking to somebody in the third row. And then he was able to get it done there. I fancy Ruiz pretty big, no pun intended. If he comes in reasonable shape, and it always. But I mean, we saw all of the clips before we went to bloody Saudi and watched him. So you just don't know.
I was talking to Michael Hunter before the fight, this returning Saudi.
Name drop.
Yeah, what's that?
Name drop. Yeah.
No. So we had him on
Michael Hunter
for a massive channel. Crazy people that work for Sky, and DAZN. and
Get to the point.
Yeah,
Michael Hunter.
He said he put on all the weight in Saudi.
What Ruiz did?
Yeah. So he put the most.
I mean, you can't put.
He put on in Saudi because he was out there. He was out there just training different times.
He was 15 stone when he went out there.
So he was just eating loads.
That's a lot of rice.
I didn't eat anything out there, me.
You're only there for a day.
Less than a day, actually.
Airplane food.
No,
I think Ruiz wins the fight. I think
he stopped.
You're right about Ortiz. He was done then.
Yeah.
Even further on, and Ruiz looks like he's going back the right way. So yeah, could be a stop. The hands are so fast. I don't know if
he stops him.
But having said that, Ruiz's last performance wasn't great. He got dropped by Chris Arreola.
Yeah, that seems like a while ago as well.
Yeah, it does. Well, it is a while ago. Since then, he's changed trainer, so he's no longer with Eddie Reynoso.
Unbelievable teeth now, though.
Brilliant teeth.
Yeah.
The teeth are marvellous.
Yeah.
It's always. I think we might have spoken about this in the past. When fighters start getting like cosmetic surgery and cosmetic stuff done, you think like
they're checking out.
Yeah.
But he's obviously he's never had no money in all his life, and he's got loads of money, so you can understand why he's enjoying it. But yeah, if he's in shape and he's fit and he's a decent weight and he can be mobile, boxes. I don't think he stops Ortiz. I think you got to have a real crunching power to stop Ortiz. I don't think he has that.
I think Martin almost had him though. Martin's almost had him at several times throughout the fight. I think it's Father Time has finally come knocking again for Luis Ortiz. He wasn't in the first time and he's come back, but I think Ortiz is there to be beat. And if Ruiz turns up in the kind of... I don't think he needs to get too light. I think that may have been part of the problem with the Arreola fight. Look, we took it... I know he got dropped by Anthony Joshua in the first fight, but we all remember the right hand that he took afterwards. And he,
good chin.
Yeah, very good chin. But even in the rematch, he took that right hand in the first round. And then he dropped that weight for the fight, for his last fight against Chris Arreola. And then he started to look vulnerable. Arreola, not a noted puncher. He was dropped. He was hurt a few times in that fight. So I kind of almost don't want to see him as light as he was, but obviously not on the other end of the spectrum, which he was in Saudi Arabia.
I think his hand speed is not really affected too much by his weight, by his body fat level. To be honest, his hands are still really fast. So I'm with you. It's not like get really light and then he gets these really fast hands. It's just what he's born with.
Genetics.
He needs to get his feet into this.
But that's the problem. But against Ortiz, I feel like he'll be able to do that. But it's a fascinating fight. It's one of those weird ones that heavyweights just cough up sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
It's a nice combination, and there's so many intangibles. But yeah, it's a good one.
It's certainly a good one. While we're hovering around the subject of heavyweights, who's the next one? Who's the heir apparent? You mentioned Jared Anderson earlier. Yeah. Is he your guy?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I said this a while back. I think he's the one. I like him. He's a little bit flash, not too flash, but he's light on his feet. Looks like he might get tagged a few times. That's okay. I think he might be able to take a shot. But yeah, I like him. He's fast. Has a good win the other day, didn't he? Finished as well.
Very young as well.
I think he's good.
He's like 23 or something.
He's shared a lot of camps. I think he's been in camp with Tyson Fury for 2 or 3 of his fights.
6'4"?
6'4". Yeah. Is he big enough? That's my question with him.
But if he keeps the speed, then I think he'd be fine.
Seems mental to say, is he big enough at 6'4"? But I mean, in the modern era, that's not a big heavyweight.
No, it's not.
If you could buy stock in him or Dubois, who would you buy the stock in?
Him. Easy. That's not even.
Anderson.
Thought.
It has to be Anderson.
You
Yeah.
got to be careful now. You don't upset your boyfriend, do you? Shane McGuigan. Like,
No, you have to be Jared Anderson. Anderson's done everything that's asked of him so far. He's not shown any frailty so far. But he hasn't had a Joe Joyce yet. I think the next fight for him over at Top Rank, you'd think that maybe the Ajagba fight could be somewhere along the line for him in the next few fights. I think that's a good fight for him. The heavyweight that I'm thinking, I think Bakhtir Jalolov. I think I think he's the next one, and he is somebody who's. I think he's 6'7".
I was in Dubai when he beat what's his name?
Sokolovsky.
Yeah, she got disqualified actually. He clearly hit him on the floor when he was on his knees. I mean, he went on his knees and it was like 1, 2, 3, crack. And like because he was obviously, if that would have been the other way around, we got disqualified. But he didn't say anything about it. Everyone just went, "Oh, we didn't see that." No, that didn't happen. But I also liked the nastiness because he's all calm and big and powerful, but he didn't like a machine. But the guy was on the floor for ages, and he said, "Yeah, have some of this, you." Like, no, you need that, don't you? I think, especially in that division.
Yeah, Jalolov's a shout.
Is he yours? Jalolov, Anderson? Is there anybody else? You mentioned Dubois there. Any of those guys?
I guess Sanchez is beyond that, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean Sanchez again is kind of like 25 going on.
Yeah,
not sure.
45.
Yeah. Jalolov he's southpaw as well, and he's punches
can move.
hard. Yeah,
got great feet for a big man.
Yeah,
in and out.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because I was massive on Hrgovic, and then that happens at the weekend.
Yeah, it's probably
and you're just like, okay, maybe. I mean, pump the brakes a bit.
I think for him, like it's just the way he's been matched over the last 2 or 3 years. Like they didn't do too bad with him. They had like Amir Mansour. Okay, Tom Little is not like a world beater, but I think he boxed him in his first 5 fights, and then he's kind of done nothing really since then. He boxed. I mean, who can you name any of his last 5 fights before he boxed Yile Zhang?
Yeah, matey, because I backed him to finish him early and he didn't. I was quite annoyed.
Oh, I had one where I bet on him in the first 2 rounds and he knocked him down 4 times. In the second round, the referee let it go on.
He looked like he had it all. He has, but it's like then what happens when you step up in the level? What's the name of the geezer? His name escapes me now. Top Rank had just signed him. Kazakh.
Oh, Kabosabutsky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Him. He's good.
Yeah,
I think
he's
he's a bit older though.
Yeah, I think
he's like 14-0, like serious heavyweight.
Yeah, I think for me, Jalolov. I would like to see Anderson stepped up now. Yeah, I would like to see him stepped up now. Whether or not they do make that a Jagba fight at some point, I don't know. I think
they're not going to match another one of their own, are they? They're going to.
Why not? I mean, for some reason they matched him with Frank Sanchez. I don't understand why FA Jagba was ever boxing Frank Sanchez. That was a cross promotion fight as well on the Fury Wilder 3 undercard, which didn't make an awful lot of sense because of the reasons that we saw in the fight. Frank Sanchez is not the most pleasing fighter to watch a lot of the time, but what he does very well, and he'll take a good fighter to beat him. I think Frank Sanchez.
Yeah,
I agree, but he doesn't get the juices flowing.
But you do want that test, just to cement that. Yeah, he is good because, like you said, look what we had on the other weekend. All of a sudden, you go, he's a good. You got a prospect, and you go, hang on.
Yeah,
he's not.
But I do think Zhang's underrated as well.
I thought he boxed really well. I'm really looking forward to it. How did you have that fight? A lot of sort of.
I had Zhang winning. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how.
I had 6 rounds apiece, but I had the knockdown from Zhang in the first round. Mate, for the first 3 or 4 rounds,
he always is. I remember Dave Allen saying this. He's the best heavyweight in the world over 3 rounds.
Who?
Zhang.
He doesn't throw any punches.
Zhang does.
Yeah.
When he throws them, he literally
after 3 rounds, he don't throw any punches.
Like he would just do nothing for 2.5 minutes. But then what he did was great. But he was being outboxed. All right, I thought the other kid won, and you're weighing it up and you're going like, well, he's done nothing for almost all the round. He's losing a round. Nothing's hurt him, but he's losing a round clear. But then he has like a 20, 15, 10 seconds of quality, and you go, oh, is that enough to give him the round? I don't know. I most of the time I thought, no, it's not. It's just not enough. For me, it was one enough. So I just think he's lazy because he's 75 years of age. There's another one who's lying about his age. But yeah, but Anderson, I think Anderson's brilliant. I think
got
that mobility and all that to push on.
Sticking with the heavyweights.
Why?
went over to see Joseph Parker yesterday.
Lovely guy.
Joseph,
going boxing.
He's right up there. It may be him or maybe his trainer,
Lee,
Andy Lee. It's a really nice camp.
Yeah.
But Tyson Fury, obviously he's kind of been in and around the camp for a while. He's in kind of that interesting predicament at the minute where he's got Joyce promoted by Frank Warren, his promoter, but he's very much Team Parker for Parker Joyce on September the 24th. Deck, how do you see that one going? I think it's a really good fight. Interesting one to make politically and promotionally, but we got it, and I think it's a really good fight.
I think it's a very, very intriguing fight because you've got Parker, who, as we all know, is good, fast feet and hands, really good boxer, like very skillful. Maybe not that big though, like a bit like with Anderson, not that big. And I feel like in the Joshua fight, he was like, just wasn't quite big enough really to put a dent in him. And then in Joyce, you've got this big lump who's just going to keep coming. Might get hit a lot. I don't see a stoppage in that fight. I see it. I think Joyce wins it. Maybe nicks a decision. Bit like what he did with Dubois, and he just boxes him, just gets behind his jab. I think it's a really good fight.
I think Joyce stops him.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I don't know why.
Parker though still remains that outside of Usyk, the only person that never got hurt in a fight with Joshua. Joshua usually gets to everyone. It was a rubbish fight, yeah. But he gets to everyone. Joshua usually,
yeah,
but he didn't get to him, and I feel like. Again, maybe he does the same with Joyce.
I think part of that as well was... Sorry, Barry, go on.
No, go on, please.
I was going to say, I think part of that was how Parker boxed in that fight. Very much on the back foot, very negative by his own admission. Yeah. Whereas I feel like this version of him under Andy Lee is going to be a little bit more adventurous, which may lead to him, creating opportunities for Joyce to hurt him.
That he'll have to fight, he'll have to just bust a gut to make a dent on Joyce, which he might do, by the way. I don't think Joyce is this indestructible force that we all think he is. He walks through lots of shots, but he feels them. You can see him feel them, by the way. He gets hit back sometimes, Joyce. You hang on a minute. That hurt him now. But he just walked through it. He still just walked through it. I just think, if he boxed the way he boxed against Dubois, which obviously, Parker can move better than Dubois, but I think Joyce makes Parker look really hard, puts the pace on him. He's miles behind on points. But he's clubbing Parker, clubbing him. When Parker tries to hold him, I think Joyce will be able to push him away, throw him around. Not throw him around, it's such that easy. But I do think he'll be able to create the gap and the space to just keep working away. He haven't got there's no acceleration in the pace in Joyce's work. Most of it's like he's punching underwater, for God's sake, most of the time. But over 12 rounds, that's hard to keep them away. He just keeps coming at you. And I think in the end, I think Parker's just exhausted and gets pummeled.
Who do you pick?
You want to upset people, do you?
Parker's your best.
Well, I always give my opinion on fights. It's a hard fight to pick. I would probably edge towards Joyce by decision because I think they've both got a good chin. I think Parker's going to have to hurt Joyce in the fight. I think he's going to need to do it early.
I think he will hurt Joyce, by the way. I just think it'll be enough to stop him from walking at you.
But we've seen. I remember watching Bryant Jennings hurt him to the body. I remember watching. Takam hit him with a lot of clean shots.
Hammer. He felt some of Hammer's shots, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, because Hammer's not exactly not been noted as a puncher in his career.
Even when he was at his prime.
And he's very much kind of that. He's basically a heavyweight journeyman, like nowadays, at that top level. I think I probably lean towards Joyce. I think as always with him, particularly in the top levels, I think when he's boxed your Takams and your Christian Hammers, not really respected what's coming back, which is why he's kind of marched forward and thought, eventually I'm just going to get to you, and he has done. But against Daniel Dubois, he got behind the jab. He's obviously a well-schooled amateur. He's got a lovely long jab. He's got heavy hands. And I feel like that's going to be the... Yeah. Steve Broughton, did a very good job that night.
I did a better job than the other fella. What's the other fella's name?
Ismail Salas.
Ismail Salas, yeah. You love him, do you?
I didn't say anything. He's trained a couple of decent heavyweights in his time.
I thought, but the best Joyce had looked was when Steve Broughton had him. For me, my opinion.
But that was late coming into the camp.
And it was I suppose Jimmy Tibbs who was working that fight as well. He was in the corner with Joyce, and he said that Steve Broughton's tactics were spot on. It was just you keep using the jab up and down with the jab, just the lead hand. Just stay with him. I think we see the return of the jugger jab. Against Joseph Parker, and I think he gets behind the jab.
Yeah, there's
I would say though, I don't care who wins, and I very rarely care who wins in any fight. To be honest, I just want to see a good fight, unless I know him personally, and I don't know many people. But if Joe Joyce wears that stupid like an helmet thing that would look like a top of a penis, yeah,
the Juggernaut helmet,
whatever it's called,
yeah,
I hope he gets beat. If he wears that in,
he will as well.
He gets beat.
He will.
Please don't wear that because.
One thing that we haven't discussed about that, and I know you're going to love this, there's a rematch clause.
Oh,
I got no issue with it.
Go on, why?
Because it doesn't hold up any of the world boxing, does it? It's not a title holder. As long as they're willing to let people overtake them in the rankings, then good luck to them. Make money. It's only if it holds up other people's careers. If it holds up titles or careers, I've got an issue with it because it's not fair. It's not fair on all the other people. It's not just the top 2 or 3 or 5. It's all the ones down the line don't get to progress their careers because people at the top who are mega rich and got everything can do it all again. I don't think it's fair. So I think them two, knock on. It doesn't affect no one's career.
It feels like a bit of a weird one. Like,
well, there's no title on the line. Yeah, right, it's for a mandatory. So Joseph Parker said that originally when the fight was discussed, after the first Chisora fight is when it was originally discussed, there was no talk of a rematch clause. In his opinion, he looked better in the Chisora rematch, and now they want a rematch clause inserted for this.
Is it on Sky though? Is it like this one goes on BT, the next one got to go on Sky?
So no. So if the rematch can't take place on BT Sport, then Parker has an obligation to box on December 17th on Sky. So if he beats Joe Joyce and for whatever reason Joyce, it's a one-sided fight and Joyce doesn't want to fight him again or whatever, then he boxes on Sky December 17th.
So the rematch is going on BT as well then?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was surprised that. Because he signed this deal with... So potentially just done a deal with Sky, but then has 2 fights with BT first.
Very interesting. He said that, again, keep your eyes peeled for ID boxing.
To be fair to Ben Callum though, he said from day one, I want to work with the promoters and all this, and you thought, well, everyone says that, but see what happens when you're in the game. He's true to his word.
It was definitely an interesting one, though. We had there was probably 2 weeks or so of very public back and forth between Frank Warren and Ben Shalom, but ultimately the fight was made. I didn't think the fight was going to happen. As soon as it was talked about and then Parker went and signed for Sky and Boxer, I thought that was the end of that fight, but it is a great fight and I am very much looking forward to it. I think we're probably getting about there, so we're going to take a couple of quick questions from our avid viewers who have soldiered on, all 363 of you. Thanks very much. Don't forget to hit that like button. 363 of you, now 358, didn't like that. 79 likes. Come on, get that like count up, please. Going to try and make some quick work of some of these questions. Any questions, please get them in now. It's just basically people arguing at the minute. So we're gonna go back here. Somebody said Jalalov or Makhmudov. I think Makhmudov's got a little bit of developing to do. Right. Any questions? Somebody mentioned Ruiz' performance against Areola. Yep, I did that as well.
He wasn't great that night.
Should we go?
Yeah, we're
going to try and get you a question.
I've been slipping down here as well, so we're going.
Any questions for Deck Taylor before we go? Barry's going to go now.
Yeah.
Barry Jones versus Barry McGuigan on a Dennis Hobson show. Make it happen. No worries.
He would absolutely wipe the floor.
Barry Jones KSI.
Okay, here's one. Okay, and we're not in the heavyweights, so we're going for Lomachenko versus Haney. If that fight, that seems to be the one. I mean, Lomachenko's going to be boxing Jermaine Ortiz. Haney's going to be boxing Kambosos in a rematch, but it seems like they're trying to make that one, Barry. Let's see if you can give us an answer without using the word pivot.
We can't do it.
And don't mention Calzaghe.
All of a sudden, I would have said, like I would have said with Calzaghe.
Calzaghe would pivot round.
I would have always said Lomachenko without a doubt, but Haney, the intelligence he showed against Kambosos, I'll still say Lomachenko.
Okay.
Actually, unless he's got old, which he might have. It's been a long. He's getting to the age now for a lighter fella.
A lot of miles on the clock.
Yeah,
boxed at a very high level as a pro. Okay, you're going Lomachenko. Going to shift it over here. Lomachenko versus.
I would always, like a year ago would have been Lomachenko, but I feel like he never really set the world alight at lightweight either. It always felt like it was just a little bit too big for him. And Haney is long and is only getting better. I think I'll probably pick Haney on points. But I think it's one of them fights they could fight 10 times and it's going to be close every time.
Good tactical matchup.
Yeah,
I think
be 7-5 either way. They can have 3 of them.
Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford decision.
Yeah.
Terence Crawford.
You're a Spence man.
Yeah, so I've always liked Spence in that fight. I think Spence is the natural welterweight out of the two. I know Crawford has grown into the weight, but I think the activity, and yeah, I feel like Crawford is kind of part of that similar mold to your Canelos and your Gervonta Davis, where he can lose rounds on activity. I think he's the more explosive puncher.
That's where you're mistaken it. What he does, he doesn't download the data. You see him, he goes to work after 4 rounds. Crawford, unless he sees a vulnerability straight away, he tries things out on you, see how you react, and he never tries the same thing twice. He does. People are watching him go, "You're full of shit." But like, he tries, see how you react, and then he knows what you're going to do. Then he remembers what you've done. Like, he has really good boxing brain. He remembers stuff, and that's how he does it. So he looks like, "Oh, this is close." To the reporter, "Oh, this is close,"
and then he just brings it up.
Then he starts putting. You see him after 3 or 4 rounds. He starts putting the combinations together. You think, why isn't he putting his punches together? But Spence, great body puncher. Don't get no credit for that. He doesn't get enough credit for it. Works the body really well. He knocked
that Phil LaGreca with a body shot.
But he still Ugas down with body punches.
Yeah, I think his activity is busy as well.
Like, he seems quite upright. He just worked the body really well.
I think he's very fundamentally sound. I think they've done a good job with him over the years. He's very correct. He's very compact.
Like a Texas fight, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like Donald Curry, you know what I mean? Everything's nice and
very compact. Good body puncher, as you say, and busy. But look, I think still, for me, that's the best fight in boxing.
Yeah, I think it's such a high-level fight that, again, it's one of them. It's going to be 7-5. They have 3 fights, and we'll be arguing about all of them. I just feel like that's how it is. So it's always hard to pick one of them, isn't it? Because it's like what happens on the night. But right now, if I was putting money on it, I'd pick Crawford.
Michael N wants to know Eubank Jr. or Benn.
I think anything approaching the best Eubank has to win. Middleweight against a welterweight, simple as that. Good big and beats a good little. And I feel like this is all bollocks about the KFC and senior only just turning up and all that shit. I think he's on it.
Of course he is.
Yep. Ben though is on it, but I feel like it's just a bit too. The turnaround's quick. Like, he's with Dan Lawrence. Like, they're training hard, they're eating properly, they're doing it right. But I just feel like it's just going to come a little bit too early.
You want to grow into the division.
I feel like,
do something
you want to grow into fucking
maybe
middle.
Box at 54. Yeah,
like I don't think the £3 is a massive. I think, in answer to your question, for Eubank,
I think the big factor is not what weight he has to make. It's the rehydration clause.
Well, we know it already. That
but what is it though?
Well, he said it's less. Eddie said it's less than the IBF one,
which is £12 at middleweight. £12 at middleweight. Yeah, they've changed it. Yeah, they've changed it.
And Eddie told, I can't remember, but I mean, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But I feel like it's manageable. It's not ideal, but I think it's not like £3.
He's making the weight twice. That's not.
He is.
The rehydration clause is ridiculous because you're making the weight twice, and it's 11 o'clock, is it?
Yeah, 11 a.m.
Depends on when the.
No, it is 11.
Is it 11 o'clock? Is that what they said? Yeah.
You know what I mean, usually.
Yeah. So the IBF one used to be first thing in the morning.
So that's really like when I turned pro back in the olden days, they used to weigh in on the day. Every fight weighed in on the day.
Same thing.
So it was like 12 o'clock. You used to weigh in midday. So you made the weight once. No, they're making the weight twice. He is. So
it's not ideal.
That's an issue, but if he's 60%, yeah, you got to go with this. It's not just size. He's
boxed at a much higher level for a lot longer as well. Yeah,
he could, and I think
higher level.
I feel like Ben will have his moments in the fight, but it's also Eubank's got a great chin. He got a great chin. Yeah. He had a great chin at super middle. Like, he did well against someone like
He hasn't inherited his dad's raw power, but he's inherited the chin.
But if the cut takes it out of him, the first thing or the thing that might be affected is his chin and his punch resistance.
Ben has to test it straight. He has to get his respect. He has to come out in the ring. He has to land something.
Ben will tactically get it right.
Yeah, of course.
I think he'll do a lot of things right to win the fight. I go to the fact that I don't think he'll be able to hurt Eubank enough to change his rhythm. Right,
final one here because we've run over. Obviously, we started a little bit late, but anyway, UK Rob boxing. Wood Lara.
Rob.
Big up UK Rob.
Do you know what? It's a funny fight, this, because I saw Lara is the underdog. No, sorry, Wood is the underdog.
Yeah.
Lara is the favourite in this fight, which surprises me. I think it's a great fight. I'm not sure about Lara. Obviously, we all base it on the Warrington win, which was strange. There was no crowd. He hurt him early, and then Warrington was just on a downwards crumble then till the end of the fight, and he just beat him up. So I don't feel like we don't really know what Lara's about still. Like, he's great. He's clearly can punch hard. He's fearless, but I feel like Wood is improving every time. I'm picking Lee Wood in that fight.
Yeah, me too. I think the only worry is if he can't, because Wood's supposed to be a massive puncher. Ask Nui.
Yeah,
apparently. if he can hurt Lara, what happens then?
I think he can.
Yeah, I think he can.
Lara was hurt in his last fight. He got hurt to the body and then he blew out. Everyone sees the cartoon knockout where he knocked the guy. He hit mate so hard the referee fell down. If you actually go back and watch it. But he was hurt to the body about a minute before that. So I feel like Lee Wood and Ben Davison, of course, will be kind of eyeing that up as a potential way to get to him. But that's enough from me and enough from our esteemed panel of guests, Deck Taylor and Barry Jones. Thanks very much for being with us, for waiting as we started. I didn't know which camera we're shooting. I'm going to speak to all of you at the same time. Thanks very much for stopping by the ID Boxing live show. Remember, please, to like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for when we come back live and on time next time. Thanks very much from me. Thanks very much from them. And we'll catch up with you soon.